Picture this. You've worked your whole life. You've paid taxes, raised a family, done everything you were supposed to do. And now you're staring down retirement with Social Security paying you $22,000 a year while rent in a major American city runs $2,000 a month or more. The math doesn't work. And hundreds of thousands of Americans have figured that out. They're packing up, leaving the country they've called home their entire lives, and retiring to places like Mexico, Portugal, Colombia, and Thailand. These aren't wealthy jet setters. Many of them are ordinary Americans living on Social Security who simply figured out that their money goes 3 to 5 times further on the other side of a plane ticket. So what's really going on here? And more importantly, how much money do you actually need to pull this off? Let's start with the obvious. America has a retirement cost crisis and retirees are feeling it harder than most. The Employee Benefit Research Institute estimates that a comfortable retirement for a single American requires somewhere between $45,000 and $65,000 a year depending on where you live. Meanwhile, the average Social Security benefit for a retired worker sits at around $1,900 a month in 2026, which works out to roughly $22,800 a year. That's barely half of what most experts consider comfortable. And if you're renting in cities like New York, San Francisco, or Miami, where average rents have pushed past $2,500 a month for a one-bedroom, your Social Security check barely covers the rent, let alone food, healthcare, utilities, and everything else that comes with modern American life. That gap between what retirees receive and what life actually costs is exactly why an estimated 700,000 Americans are already collecting their Social Security benefits from overseas, and that number is climbing every single year. Here's something most people don't realize. You can live permanently overseas and still receive your full Social Security benefits. You don't need to stay in America. As long as you're a U.S. citizen or eligible non-citizen and you've earned your credits, your payments follow you around the world. There are a small number of countries where the Social Security Administration won't send payments directly, but for the vast majority of popular retirement destinations, your check keeps landing in your account every single month, wherever you happen to be living. Medicare is a different story and we'll get to that shortly. But your Social Security income is yours and it travels with you. Now let's talk about where Americans are actually going. Mexico is by far the most popular destination, particularly cities like Puerto Vallarta, San Miguel de Allende, Oaxaca, and the Lake Chapala region. The climate is excellent, the food is incredible, healthcare is genuinely world-class in the private system, and there's already a massive American expat community in place. A realistic monthly budget for a single retiree living comfortably in Mexico. A nice apartment, eating out regularly, private health insurance, the works, comes in around $1,500 to $2,500 US dollars per month. Compare that to trying to survive in Phoenix or Chicago on the same income. It's not even close. Mexico's temporary resident visa is straightforward to obtain and can be converted to permanent residency after 4 years, making it one of the smoothest transitions available to American retirees. Portugal has become the European darling of American retirees over the last several years, especially Lisbon, Porto, and the Algarve coastline. English is widely spoken, the healthcare system is excellent, the food and wine culture is extraordinary, and European infrastructure makes life genuinely comfortable. Portugal's D8 digital nomad visa and its non-habitual resident tax regime have made it particularly attractive for Americans with passive income. Monthly costs in Lisbon typically run between $2,000 and $3,500 depending on your lifestyle, which is higher than Southeast Asia but dramatically lower than any equivalent American city. Colombia has emerged as one of the most exciting options, particularly Medellin, which has transformed itself into one of the most livable cities in Latin America. The climate in Medellin is so consistently pleasant it's called the city of eternal spring. Modern infrastructure, world-class private hospitals, excellent coffee, and a growing expat scene make it a compelling choice. Monthly living costs in Medellin can sit comfortably between $1,200 and $2,200 US dollars for a very comfortable lifestyle. Colombia's pensioner visa specifically for retirees requires proof of a pension or passive income of just 3 times the Colombian minimum wage, which currently works out to around $750 US dollars per month. That's an incredibly low bar to clear. And then there's Southeast Asia. Thailand, Vietnam, and Malaysia all remain extremely popular with American retirees for the same reasons they attract expats from around the world. Thailand's retirement visa for those over 50 requires either the equivalent of around $25,000 in a Thai bank account or proof of monthly income of around $2,000. Monthly costs in Chiang Mai can run between $1,200 and $2,500 for a genuinely comfortable life. Malaysia's My Second Home program has higher financial requirements but delivers an exceptional standard of living for between $1,000 and $2,000 per month. Now let's get into the real numbers. How much do you actually need saved or invested to retire abroad as an American? If your target lifestyle costs $2,000 a month, that's $24,000 a year. If you're receiving the average Social Security benefit of $22,800 a year, you're already almost there with a tiny gap to fill. Top that up with even a modest investment portfolio and you're living a genuinely comfortable life overseas for less than most Americans spend on rent alone back home. Using the 4% rule, which says you can safely withdraw 4% of your portfolio each year without running out of money, you'd need $600,000 invested to generate $24,000 a year independently of Social Security. With Social Security on top, you could realistically retire abroad on a portfolio as small as $200,000 to $300,000 if your monthly expenses are covered by your benefit check. That's a fraction of the $1.50 to $2 million most American financial planners say you need to retire comfortably inside the United States. Now here's a detail that could save you thousands and most people overlook it completely. Your 401k and IRA don't disappear when you move overseas. Once you've hit the qualifying age, you can take distributions from a traditional 401k or IRA from anywhere in the world, paid directly into your U.S. bank account, and then transferred internationally. If you have a Roth IRA, qualifying withdrawals remain completely tax-free regardless of where you're living. The key is getting your withdrawal strategy sorted before you leave, because managing U.S. retirement accounts from overseas without access to a good American financial advisor gets complicated fast. And now the thing that keeps most people up at night. Healthcare. Medicare generally does not cover you outside the United States. There are very limited exceptions, but as a rule, once you leave American soil, your Medicare coverage stops. You're on your own. The good news is that private healthcare in countries like Mexico, Thailand, and Portugal is genuinely world-class and a fraction of the American cost. A procedure that costs $30,000 in a U.S. hospital can cost $3,000 in a top-tier private hospital in Bangkok or Medellin. But you absolutely need international health insurance, and you need to get it before any health issues develop. For someone in their early 60s, expect to pay between $2,000 and $5,000 a year for solid international coverage, which is still dramatically less than typical American health insurance premiums. But it's not just healthcare you need to plan around. Currency risk is real. A stronger US dollar makes your money go further overseas. A weaker dollar shrinks your purchasing power. You need a buffer. You also need to think seriously about taxes. Americans are one of only 2 nationalities in the world taxed on worldwide income regardless of where they live, so your tax obligations to the IRS don't disappear just because you've moved to Lisbon or Medellin. Good cross-border tax planning is essential. And then there's the emotional side that nobody wants to talk about. Moving overseas sounds exciting and liberating, but being away from your kids, your grandkids, your lifelong friends, that weighs on people over time in ways they didn't anticipate. If this idea sparks something in you, start with a trial run. Spend 1 to 3 months in a destination before making any permanent decisions. Rent a place, test the lifestyle, connect with the local expat community, and see how it actually feels to live there rather than just visit. Retiring abroad isn't for everyone. But for the growing number of Americans who are tired of watching their retirement savings evaporate just to keep a roof over their heads in a country that keeps getting more expensive, it's becoming the smartest financial move they ever make. If this video opened your eyes to something new, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.